Welcome back, it's me Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. And today we are featuring this. From Mattel's Masters of the WWE Universe, we have Macho Man Randy Savage. Okay, so there's two figures here. This is not a double feature. The figure on the right was the initial release of Macho Man. This came out maybe like a year or two ago. And this is Macho Man Randy Savage, Master of Macho Madness. And this is the more recent release of the figure. This is what we're going to be looking at. This one's going to stay in the box because I bought them. I already unboxed them. And this one here is actually a display piece. I just brought this out for comparison reasons. Okay, let's get started. So right off the bat, these are, if you're unfamiliar with this toy line, it's Mattel's attempt at mixing in the WWE with their Masters of the Universe figures. So these figures, they kind of share the same bodies, the same height, same proportions, and very similar accessories to their Masters of the Universe Origins line. And it's a concept that I think is brilliant, and it works very, very well. For one, a lot of the WWE wrestlers, they're larger than life characters to begin with. They have really fun gimmicks and themes about them, and it's so easy for them to like this make that transition into a fantasy setting like Masters of the Universe. So what we have here is we have Randy Savage, the Macho Man, but reimagined as a fantasy warrior, as if he like populated the world of He-Man. And as I stated earlier, this was the figure on the right was the initial release, and this is kind of based off of more classic Randy Savage. He has the trademark orange trunks with the star, the yellow boots, his crazy glasses, and then he has his gimmick shirt. Whereas this Randy Savage, this is based off of his much later career when he was in WCW. He's wearing the black and white because he belonged to the New World Order, and these were their gang colors. He has the symbol of Hordax Horde on his chest, and he has his Macho Madness do-rag and another set of glasses. And the cool thing with these figures too, much like all the figures in the Masters of the Universe Origins line and the WWE Masters of the WWE Universe line, is that these figures, they can be disassembled. The head can come off, the arms can come off, the upper torso could be removed, the boots can be removed, and what you could do is you can actually swap pieces between figures. And the cool thing about Macho Man too is that, you know, if you want this guy to have this guy's head, you can easily do so. Just pop the head off and just swap it over. Now, in terms of the packaging, the card size is kind of a throwback to the old He-Man figures. I've mentioned this in previous videos. I'm not a big fan of the Masters of the WWE Universe, their package design. WWE, for me, it should read loud. It should like scream in your face. And the color choices here, they're not that bold. It's kind of a lot of cool colors with the purples, blues, and greens. I like the logo a lot, but it could definitely use a little bit more warm colors. The W here, especially with the kind of like the chrome in it, it's a very throwback to the old WWF logo of the 80s, which I can appreciate that. On the back of this, some nice painted artwork. We have Macho Man sitting on a throne. It looks like you have Jake the Snake, and I think that might be Kane, I think, on the other side. And it says here, they tried to stop him, but the Horde World Order revived Macho Man to take over WWE Eternia. When you're the HWO, you're HWO for life. And that's a play on the whole New World Order from the WCW days. The New World Order. If you were NWO, you're NWO for life. And then here's some of his wave mates. You have Becky Lynch. I reviewed that previously. There's a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the heroic master of dragons, and Rowdy Roddy Piper, the evil hot rod. I haven't seen these two at retail. It seems like it's, for me anyways, where I live, it's getting harder and harder to find these WWE figures. I'm not sure if it's just, a case of distribution and maybe all that I got is, all they'll get, or if these are just super hot, which I mean they are, and they're just impossible to find. But I've never come across these two figures, and I kind of want the Steamboat really bad because he was one of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. So this guy comes with the Macho Mace, and it kind of shows here all his different poses and articulation. And since this guy's here, let's take a look at this guy. So this is the first release of the figure. And on the back, we have Macho Man beating up the fake whore John Cena. It says, freak out, as Macho Man is spread to all the corners of WWE Eternia. There is only one man who has the power to control it. Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh, yeah. And then you can remove his... as much as I love this figure, I hate the battle armor they give him. It's weird because it's kind of a throwback to the Power Armor He-Man figure from the 80s, where if you punched him in the chest, it'd like roll and flip. His chest was kind of like a barrel. So when you punched his chest, the barrel would roll and then reveal like battle damage. But for this figure, it was more so that you had to remove his shirt and swap out the chest piece for a battle damaged one. And it's stupid because there actually is a Masters of the Universe Origins He-Man figure that actually has the real gimmick that works. So I don't know why they just didn't give this guy that body and implement this feature onto it. But it's cool because you can remove the shirt, and when you remove the shirt and just kind of leave him bare, he looks like just like a plain wrestling figure minus the fantasy warrior gimmick. And then some of the figures in his wave include Rey Mysterio, which is kind of a call out to Stratos. Faker John Cena, which is kind of a call out to the old Faker He-Man. And then there's this Roman Reigns. He has the giant fist. It's kind of like Fisto, but his color scheme, this is all Roman Reigns. Outside of the accessories, not too much about this figure screams fantasy, which is okay. Alright, let's take a look at this Macho Man. HWO for life. He's highly articulated for power posing. And as my buddy JC pointed out, if you want to remove the bubbles off the card, that little slot, you just put your thumb in there, and then this rips off. And we have the cool comic book. And it sucks because my comic book's partially glued onto the card. And so there's no way for me to take this out without ruining it, which sucks. Yeah, so if you look here, my comic book is kind of like it got caught when they glued the bubble to the card, so it's just kind of glued in there. It's no longer mint. That's alright. Now let's take a look at the comic book real quick. Masters of the WWE Universe. So you have Macho Man here. He's taking on Hot Rod, and you have Jake the Snake. I kind of want the Jake the Snake figure pretty bad. And then you have Faker John Cena. On the back, Becky Lynch, Macho Man, Steamboat, Piper. Now their comic books they're not as long as the Masters of the Universe ones are. These are like a kind of like a fold out. So he folded out, and there he is, Macho Man, NWO. He's throwing up gang signs. It says here, the great battle has begun. A darkness threatens to consume WWE Eternia. As a faction of evil superstars rise from parts unknown to control the balance of power. But the heroic superstars accept the challenge to defend the planet and determine who are the masters of the WWE Universe. And they give you his stats, which is nice. He's 6'2", 237 pounds. His superstar powers: overpowering intensity, cat-like reflexes, conjurer of macho madness. His forward objects include the Macho Mace and the bandana helmet. And this is kind of cute. The following announcement has been paid for by the HWO. So if you grew up on wrestling, you'll kind of remember that as the whole NWO commercial deal. And it's cool. Oh, they even have the slime pit. Oh, so this kind of talks about his origin. That's neat. So this is like old school, but then he got thrown into the slime pit, and now he came out bigger and badder. And here we have good old Randy Savage, the Macho Man. Now, it's May 19th, 2021, and a couple of weeks ago on A&E, they've been airing those WWE, like, biodocs, and one of the ones they featured was the history of the Macho Man, which was kind of cool. I liked it a lot. Macho Man was a character as a kid. I really bought into him as being a bad guy. He really defined the heel wrestler for me as a child. You know, he'd always come out with Miss Elizabeth, and he'd always be talking S about her and treating her wrong. And for me, it's like that build up to WrestleMania where he wrestled Steamboat. I remember I was at, I was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade, and one of the neighborhood kids, Sean W, was having a party, so he invited some of the local kids over, and we all sat around and watched WrestleMania at his house. And I remember that was such an exciting match. But yeah, Randy Savage for me was always like the big heel character. Maybe it's like 1985. This is prior to, this is I think going up before WrestleMania 3, but the WWF was coming through Chicago, and they were at the Allstate Arena, but back then it was known as the Rosemont Horizon. And then we saw Macho Man take on Tito Santana. It was the last match on the card is for the Intercontinental title. And I remember the first like third of the match. It was this Tito Santana running around chasing Macho Man around the ring. And then I didn't learn until much later when I was, because I'm a kind of a big wrestling fan. I was reading about it. And sometimes some of those non-televised wrestling shows, the wrestlers, they wouldn't go all out. They'd do like silly things just to like kind of like keep their health and preserve their bodies for the bigger shows. And a stunt like that where they just chased each other around the ring without necessarily doing any moves to each other. That was more so just to like keep them healthy and to keep themselves entertained and give fans an entertaining match without putting 110 into it. If that makes any sense. And I remember the way the match finished is that it's for the IC belt, the Intercontinental title, and Tito Santana actually got the pinfall on him. So then after he won, they ding the bell, ding, ding, ding. And then, I think he was announced as the new champion. And then, I went home happy. And if you've gone to wrestling shows, especially the house shows, the non-televised events, those things can run for like 3 or 4 hours. And the minute they end, you already have people lining up the aisles, ready to get going because they want to go home. And for some reason, that even though he won the belt, I don't think we didn't stay for the post after he pinned him. So for all I know, maybe they reinstated the match and called foul, and then they just continued with the match. Maybe Macho Man won, but for whatever reason, even though Tito Santana won that match, it was never acknowledged on television because the following week Macho Man would be back on TV and he'd still have the Intercontinental title. And I was reading much later that was also kind of a gimmick they'd do to like entertain and please fans who went to the non-televised show, is that sometimes belts would change hands, but they wouldn't necessarily officially count in universe. Like unless it happened on TV, it never really happened. So sometimes if a belt changes hands on what's called a house show, those would be called like phantom. I think it was called like phantom title change or something. So even though the belt, was someone else might have won the belt, it wasn't necessarily acknowledged because the story they had going on TV was something different. So maybe like on a following show, maybe like in Indiana, maybe Macho Man would win it back or something. If that makes sense to you. I mean, I'm just babbling right now. But if you're a wrestling fan, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And so here's his do-rag, his bandana. This comes off. It's a cool thing, but they just look silly. It's like this weird bowl. It hugs his head okay. It gets the job done, but I kind of like him better without it. Now for me, this version, as much as I love the classic version of Macho Man, I just love him in the NWO colors. Macho Man looks so cool in WCW. I mean, he was much older by then. He was definitely more jacked. Like the iteration of Macho Man that came after the NWO Macho Man, like when he was with Gorgeous George, Dude, that guy was swole. He was so much bigger. He had his hair tied back and slicked back. He had like a completely different presence about him. And now the way, all right, I don't want to pop his head off, but so this vest will come off. You just need to pop the head first, and then underneath he has his merch shirt, his Macho Madness shirt. And it's like I said earlier, let's just do it anyways while we're here. Oh yeah, came off. I was just kind of worried this would be kind of a hard to remove head. So the deal is, if you take off his armor for some of these WWE figures, you know, the minute you take off their armor, all of a sudden it just becomes like a plain wrestling figure, which I can appreciate. So if you're not cool on this whole, you know, fantasy warrior gimmick, take the armor pieces off, and then you just have this. And it looks awesome. And here's some more armor pieces. I think these are his leg pieces. And there's one's for the left leg and one's for the right. And you can tell on the inside, there's a little L marked inside the kneecap. And on here, on the shin, there's an R. If you can see that. It's right there. So these go on their legs. This goes on his right leg. This is cool too. I mean, this is a complete throwback to the old 80s figures. The old 80s figures, you can remove their armor. Give him his do-rag. Let's put his body armor back on. Yeah, this is a great figure. I love Macho Man. I have a much deeper appreciation for him as a wrestler. Now that I'm older, I mean, for me, when I was younger, it was just kind of like he always seemed like a dick because he was always so mean to Miss Elizabeth. But I mean, that just means he did his job well. Because as a fan and as a child, I really bought into that character. But one thing I liked about him, either way, even when I was younger, is that I kind of knew that he was from Illinois, and his brother was the genius Lanny Poffo, and he was the wrestler that always like come out and he'd always have something smart to say, and he'd throw frisbees out at people, and they were brothers in real life. The Macho Mace. Yeah, so this guy's awesome. All right, so I have another figure to compare him to in terms of scale and whatever. So this is Clamp Champ. He's from the Masters of the Universe Origins line. So you can see, there's a lot that's shared here. They share the same mold in terms of their body and their arms. Same with their legs. And, if you wanted to get crazy, you could pull this guy's arms off and plug him into Macho Man and swap the head out. But yeah, these figures are great. I really hope this line continues for the foreseeable future. I'm hoping that with the WWE ones that they start branching off and get crazier, like maybe giving us a vehicle or two, or even a playset besides the two wrestling rings. And he's kind of a tease because it's kind of like they gave us NWO Macho Man. It's like, are we gonna get NWO Hogan down the road, or are we gonna get Hall and Nash? So, yep, this is Macho Man. All right, so if I had to rate this guy numerically, my first thought was a 9. For me, this guy, he hits all the right spots. It's a great callback to his time in the NWO, which I enjoyed a lot as a kid, or I was in college, I think, by that time. It's a great representation of that character from that era. Accessory-wise, it's kind of a little bit more in the bare minimum, but that's okay. I don't mind. But I think I've just been kind of spoiled with some of the Masters of the Universe stuff, because for some of those figures, they go all out, especially with the deluxe figures. But this guy has everything that he needs to be Macho Man. His armor pieces are cool. It's nice that they give you this Horde armor, because you can easily just put this on a Masters of the Universe figure and create your own new Horde Trooper or something. Yeah, nothing but praise for this guy. This guy's excellent. Easy 9. So yeah, if you're a fan of wrestling, if you're a fan of Masters of the Universe, even if you're just a fan of Macho Man, this is an excellent figure. I highly recommend it. So once again, my name is Lou. Thanks for dropping by, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.